Oh, my heart is racing like a mile a minute. This happens so often to me. But as I always say, my heart races a mile a minute because I'm always nervous to be here in the community and to share with you. No matter how many times I do it, how many times I hit record, I still have butterflies and nerves. And to me, that just means that I still care. It hasn't become easy. It's still something that I get the jitters about. And that's what makes me a human being. Although some of you might be like, you're nervous, Denise? It doesn't seem like you're nervous. How is that even possible? But trust me, I am every time I hit record. But I'm even more nervous today because I'm sharing something with you that I'm really excited to be sharing. And for most of you, or many of you might know already, I've been working with an amazing coach for an extended period of time, and she has really been supporting me in articulating what it is I do in my job, what journey I take clients on. Because I don't think I've shared this before. In the beginning of when I started my practice, I thought that just being a therapist was going to be enough. But as I have come to learn in the online space, it needs to be bigger than that. It's not enough to just say, I support women in a therapeutic setting, because it doesn't really apply to anyone. It's like, what am I getting out of this? Am I just going to talk? Is it going to help me with my anxiety? Like, what is it you as a therapist does? And I've always said, and I've always wanted to be a little bit different. I knew I never wanted to be the typical therapist. I knew I didn't want to do things the typical way. I knew that I was different, and I really wanted to showcase how different I was. But in order to do that, I needed to understand how my methodology works, what system I use, and most of all, what the journey is that I'm bringing my clients on, because that's how you're going to know if this is suitable to you. And the biggest benefit you have in watching some of these videos and seeing me online is you almost get to do like have like a sneak peek, like what is she like, what is her personality like, do I feel like it jives with mine, do I feel like her energy would match mine, do I feel like she could support me in the way that I need. Because being in therapy, it's very vulnerable, and you have to be able to trust the practitioner explicitly so you can have those moments, so that you can share what you need to share, and most of all so that you can feel safe. And I think as I've gone through this kind of journey with my own coach, the biggest thing that I have learned and the greatest value that I have and what I really offer to my clients, and the thing they say more often than anything else, is you make me feel safe. I feel safe with you. I know you're not going to judge me. I know you're not going to shame me. I know you're not going to make fun of me. And I know you're just going to let me be. It's like you have this immediate feeling like you could just drop all of the things, all of the masks that you're holding up. You can drop having to be anybody else, and focus on practicing just who you are. And that's just such a beautiful gift that I have. And I don't say that to be cocky or conceited. I say that because it's true. I have this beautiful way of making you feel safe, having your nervous system feel safe in my presence, where you can say all of those things that you have wanted to say for so long, but have felt like you couldn't do it, or you felt like someone might judge you. And I think what tends to happen, when we talk to our friends, is our friends so often want to try and fix. So they start offering advice. And while advice from friends can be good, obviously when you're working with a therapist, we are trained to work with you. This is what we went to school for. This is what we learned. And we have this beautiful ability to work with you and to collaborate with you. But today I really wanted to sort of celebrate and share with you, even though it's not 100% perfect yet, and it's not 100% done, and I have a lot of fear about sharing this, but that's okay, because I want you to know kind of what I do and how I do it, because I think it's beautiful. But with that said, the way you work with me as a client is I use a method called intuitive empowerment therapy. What is intuitive empowerment therapy, Denise? No problem. I'm going to tell you. Ultimately, the end goal when you're working with me is, I like to call this the journey to worthiness, because so many of my clients come to me, they're riddled with self-doubt. They're not anywhere near who they want to be. They feel dissatisfied. They feel like, they should be happy. They're shooting all over themselves. And what it is I'm leading you through this breakup with supposed to culture, which I've been talking a lot about with you here in the community. And I treat it as such. It's like a breakup, right? And when you come to me in the beginning, you're this exhausted empath, feeling like you're tired of just living the way you were living right now. It is exhausting. And by the end of our time together, as you walk the journey to worthiness, you come out on the other side as a more empowered empath. And of course, the work never stops. Personal development never stops. We continue to grow and evolve. But what I do is support you in breaking up with supposed to culture, getting in touch with your needs, and coming out on the other side feeling like a more empowered version of your beautiful, empathetic self, but to the point where you're no longer being walked all over. So how do I do this? I have 4 stages to my method. And obviously it's like not everybody is the same, and therapy really isn't cookie cutter. So to be honest with you, these 4 stages might look different or maybe in a different order depending on the person. But ultimately, we kind of go through these 4 stages, and it helps to be able to showcase them in a way so that you can understand, okay, this is kind of what to expect, especially when I'm meeting with somebody for the first time. So I'm going to share that with you now. I'm going to share the 4 phases with you now, and then if you have any questions or if you want to talk more about it, we can absolutely do that. So the first phase of the journey to worthiness is the embark phase. And what you're doing in the embarkment phase is we are removing the blindfold. Remember what I said, this is a breakup with supposed to culture. We are finally ditching all of those things in our life that make us feel like we're not good enough. And that is the influence of supposed to culture. You'll have to forgive my dog. He loves to bark when I'm live, and who knows how long it'll go on for, but we're just going to push through. So this first phase is embark. We remove the blindfold. And if you can have that imagery of removing the blindfold, it's like then you see things. You know how they say like seeing the world through rose-colored glasses? Like you can't see things for what they are if you have the rose-colored glasses on. So in the embark phase, we are tearing off that blindfold, and you're going to see all of these influences that have caused you to give your power away and have made you feel like you are not good enough simply just as you are. And part of that is, like I said earlier, cultivating the sense of safety. I want you to feel emotionally safe. And that's what the first few kind of sessions together are for us, is cultivating that sense of emotional safety so that you feel like you can share, so you feel like you can be vulnerable, so you feel like you don't have to show up as anyone but yourself. And from that point, then there's this beautiful emotional show and tell. And I call it that specifically because during those first couple of sessions, you were just sharing things and you were emotionally dumping and you were telling me about this thing and this thing and this thing from your past. And nothing is going to make sense. You're going to be like, Denise, I don't even know if anything I'm making sense is making sense, but I feel like you need to know all of this information. And that's what emotional show and tell is all about. This is your opportunity to tell me everything I need to know in order to be able to have us progress and move forward. Because obviously so much of our past is mirrored in our present. And if we can't make those connections through the process of emotional show and tell, it's going to be really difficult for us to make headway and understand the full picture. But me as a therapist, like I don't want to stay in the past forever. Yes, the past is a part of you, but it doesn't define you. So I need to have tidbits of information to get a holistic picture, but we don't stay there forever. I want to really keep you moving with forward momentum and get you to where you want to go at the end of our time together, which is to become that empowered empath and move away from the exhausted empath. So from there, obviously, once we've gone through that in the first couple of phases, the first couple of sessions, then we are ready to take those first few steps and move the needle in a new direction. So that is phase number 1, which is the embark phase. Phase number 2 is the explore phase, also called going within. And my jam is all about reconnecting you to your own needs, tuning into your own feelings, having you actually feeling your feelings, because supposed to culture has told us to stuff our feelings down as much as possible and to not share any of those difficult emotions and to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. But that is just simply not the human experience. You have to be able to tune into your feelings. And sometimes we don't even know what we're feeling. So without that moment of going within and tuning into our feelings, like how can we begin to know what our needs are? How can we begin to know who we are on a more emotional level? Because what emotions and feelings truly are opportunities or invitations to explore deeper. And through that, then we can create awareness. We can observe some of the things that are coming up. Start observing your thoughts, observing your emotions, observing, some of the things that are going on. You become like in the explore phase, you kind of become a bit of a detective in your own life. Like you start to really observe what's going on, observe your patterns of behavior, observe your negative thought processes, observe what continues to come on in your brain, observe any sort of anxiety, why you're feeling it, what your triggers are. This is where you put your Sherlock Holmes hat on, and we do this together. We do this every step of the way together. You are not alone in this. We don't just meet during our 1 hour therapy sessions. I am with you the entire way. I am with you via messenger or via email, supporting you as you go through and you navigate each of these phases, because you will inevitably have things come up outside of the therapy sessions. And I want to be there for you as you go through it, because it can be a little bit of a challenge, and it's good to know that you're fully supported by somebody that has your highest and best in mind. And that is really what you're signing on for when you're working with me, is somebody to have your friggin' back, that wants what's absolutely best for you, and that is going to stand by you every step of the way as you go through this, free of judgment, so you can do it in a way that feels emotionally safe. So that is our second phase. Our third phase is exhale. You finally get to exhale, because you start to realize this backpack that you've been carrying around of things from the past, or, ways of being, or feeling like you have to be something you're not, because supposed to culture has told you all your life that you're not good enough just as you are. It's like now you get to drop that backpack and you can finally breathe, and you start to make peace. It's this beautiful exhale, like, oh, finally I can breathe again. And I love watching phase 3 happen, because it happens so organically in our time together, and it's beautiful. During this phase, you're going to learn your intuitive language. And I'm really big on getting you back in your zone of intuitive flow, because when you are in your zone of intuitive flow, when your intuition is integrated and it's online and you can rely on it, and it's not in a state of overwhelm or underwhelm, when it's in flow, man, it makes living your life so much easier, because you are living your life on your own terms, because you're so deeply connected to your own needs. But everybody's intuition talks to them differently. So it's up to us to really explore and be like, okay, what does your intuition sound like? How does it talk to you? Some people it's a gut feeling. Some people it's just an inner knowing. Some people it's a feeling. Some people it's an energy. So us together, we're going to go through the process of figuring out what your intuitive language sounds like, so that you can be in the zone of intuitive flow, and we can get that intuition back online, because it's there. It's your personal GPS system. It's always been a part of you. My goal is to get you reconnected to it. And then at this point, you start to explore and redefine what happiness means to you. No longer are you chasing somebody else's happiness. What makes somebody else happy isn't necessarily going to make you happy. And I always ask the question to my clients, what is happiness? How will you know when you're happy? And the answer is always like, I have no bloody idea. So we start to redefine that. What is going to make you happy? And being in intuitive flow and understanding your needs and being tuned into your feelings, this is all going to support you in redefining what happiness and joy means to you specifically. And ultimately, in this zone, we are starting to really, not only at this point have we broken up with supposed to culture, now we're breaking up with self-doubt, and you're starting to have a real sense of what you are worth, and you start having deal breakers. You start not being unwilling to accept anything than what is best for you. And it's a really amazing thing to see. From here, we move on to the fourth and final phase, which is embody. At this point, you are owning your worth. You are honoring your feelings. You are honoring your intuition. You are setting compassionate boundaries with people, not as a way to keep them away, but to protect yourself and to make sure that you are living, you're only exposing yourself to the people that want what's best for you. People need to earn the right to be in your life. And if they cannot adhere to your boundaries, if they cannot respect them, they have not earned a place at your table. But it's really hard. Like if you're trying to set boundaries in like phase 1, it can be really, really difficult. We need to move you through these phases in order to get you to a place where you feel confident enough to know, hey, I am worthy and I need to set boundaries and I'm okay with it. And if somebody doesn't like it, they haven't earned their right to be in my inner sanctum. And this is sort of when certain relationships will naturally start to fall off, or people will kind of phase themselves out, because the people that don't respect your boundaries are the people that have been taking advantage and the people that have been benefiting from you not having any. But this process gets a lot easier when you're in that period where you're owning your worth and you're embodying all of these phases in one. And then at the end of it all, you're ready to start embracing uncertainty. And this is a really cool thing too that happens, because ultimately, like, there's so much fear that we have in taking chances, taking risks, putting ourselves first, doing things differently. And it's because we're not living from a place of intuitive flow. We're living in a strictly analytical mind, and the brain and the ego brain is like, but what if you fail? But what if you don't do things right? But what if you don't show up for yourself? It's all these what if fear-based feelings and thoughts. But when you understand, because part of what I'm doing, I'm not just talking, I'm educating you, I'm inspiring you, I'm sharing with you so that you have all the information you need to go through these 4 phases. And part of that is understanding why fear and anxiety present itself and how to start embracing uncertainty so that you can start taking control back and living a life on your terms that is kind of free of fear, But I'm not going to say that. Fear is always there. Let me scratch that. Erase it. Scratch that. Erase it. That's from a movie, which I cannot think of anymore. But, I think it's Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder. It's the only appropriate Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, I must say. But so the fear never goes away, but you learn to embrace it. And you learn to say, okay, fear, I know why you're here. You're here to protect me. You're here to take care of me. And I thank you so much for being my protector. But honestly, I'm done with fear. I'm done with this. I want to keep moving forward. I want to keep taking steps in the right direction. And I can't do that if I allow fear to continue to run the show. And this is what supposed to culture wants. It wants you to remain fearful. It doesn't want you to see it for what it is. It doesn't want you to rip the blindfold off. It doesn't want you to walk the path to worthiness at all whatsoever, because it doesn't benefit if you are standing as an empowered empath. It doesn't benefit from that, because then you're living life on your terms and you're not willing to accept the standard. You're no longer willing to continue to conform and be in a box that is not meant for you. You are now ready to create and cultivate a life that feels good to you on your terms. And sometimes that means doing things a lot differently than you are now. And there is nothing that scares the shit out of supposed to culture more than an empowered empath, because then they are taking life by the horns. Could you tell what I was going to say there anyway, you start taking life by the horns. And when you put yourself back in the driver's seat, man, things really start to change. And what starts to happen is my clients go through this process is that their whole, they become more magnetic. Their vibration is so much higher because they're living from a place of abundance as opposed to a place of scarcity and not having enough. And I'll give you a perfect example. One of my clients, and this is what's coming to mind, when I was working with her during our time together, she was really dissatisfied in her job, but she felt very, very stuck in her job, and she didn't feel like she could get anything else. And she was furiously just applying for jobs, anything to get me out of this, anything. I don't want to work here anymore. So she didn't even know if the jobs she was applying for were right for her. She hadn't really established what her needs are, what her goals were, what she wanted out of a job, how she wanted to feel. She didn't even have a list. She was just furiously and from a place of scarcity, applying for anything because she was so desperate to get out of the job she was in. And as we worked together and as we really started to get her back connected to what her needs were and what she wanted to feel in her job, everything changed. She stopped furiously just applying for anything and everything. She started being more particular. And it's interesting, she messaged me the other day, and our time together has done. She's gone through the program. She is an empowered empath. She messaged me the other day and she said, "You're not going to believe it. I quit my job. And I found another job and it's perfect for me and I'm starting it soon." And I was like, friggin' yes. This is what I love to hear. But it's because she started embodying her own worth and knowing she didn't have to just accept any old job, and she didn't furiously have to just, apply for anything and everything. She could just have some faith and trust and know that the right thing was going to come to her in the right time, because she was standing in her worth. She was embodying what she was worth. And I was just like, this is what I love to hear. And that's kind of one of the benefits. And one of the things that sets me apart too, is that I pretty well keep in touch with most of my clients. Most of my clients message me one way or another. They share what's been going on with them. And this is after our time together has finished. But I always keep an open dialogue with my previous clients, because they're celebrating, and I want to celebrate with you. Even after our time is done, I still want to hear from you. I still want to talk with you. I still want to know what your wins are. And it's just so cool to see them thriving in this way and standing in their worth and really having completed walking that journey to worthiness. There's nothing more beautiful than this. There really isn't. I love it. And it's such a blessing. And I love that I can keep in touch with my clients. And a lot of my clients kind of come to this period towards the end where they start to have a little bit of panic or a little bit of fear, like, oh my God, I'm coming to the end. Our time together is finishing. What am I going to do without you? But my goal as a therapist, and I think this is something that also sets me apart from other people, is that my goal is not to keep you forever. That is not my goal. The goal is to support you in walking this path and collaborate with you, but then to be able to take the training wheels off and let you live your life. It serves no purpose for me to keep you forever. And it means our work together isn't having the same impact, But I always say to clients, listen, sometimes my clients come back to me once a month or something, just for a tune-up, or every couple months, or sometimes they go through a period of challenge and they'll come to me for 2 or 3 2 sessions a month or something, just depending on what their needs are. I'm not going anywhere. I'm always here for you. So yeah, it is pretty cool. And it's such a blessing doing what I do, and watching my clients go through this beautiful it brings me joy. It's joyful. And this is who I am. You know, what you see is what you get. I always say that. Like, this is the exact person, the person that shows themselves here. This is exactly how I am when we work together. And it's just such a blessing to be able to do what I do. But if you have any specific questions about how we work together, or if you weren't aware, and if you made it to the end of this video and you're wondering how you can connect with me, please send me a message. However you want to send me a message is fine. Leave a comment. Let me know you want to set up a call. I do a free 30-minute call. I call them breakthrough calls, just to see if we're a good fit, to give you any additional information you might need, or to answer any of your questions. That is no charge to you. That's just you and me having a moment to see if our energies flow, to see if we're a good fit, because I'm all about fit. For a therapist to be a good therapist, you've got to have a really good fit. And you can only do that if you talk to them. So we can always set up a call and have a quick chat. But yes, however you want to get in touch with me, I will always, always, always write you back. Always, always. But yeah, all you have to do is reach out, and I would be happy to share more with you. And let me know your thoughts below in the comments. What do you think about this? What do you like? What do you think might be missing? Share anything. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, because like I said, I was pretty nervous to share this. So I'd love to get any feedback. Any and all feedback is welcome, so long as it is constructive and comes from a place of love and compassion. But with that, I'm going to go eat something because I'm starving, but I will see you next time. Have a great day.